get on the board, that they'd probably go ahead and give up, that that'd be the finishing touches. So that's what they call the last flight. And so they got us all down to headquarters, and they started just talking to us about it. Nobody had ever flown with this kind of load before. And so they didn't know, but nobody knew how to take off. I mean, how much manifold pressure, how much this, how much that, so forth. And if you take one of these sheets and see what the amount of gas they put in there, because we hit an oil refinery up there that's was about 35 miles across over there to Vladivostok, Russia. That's how far, I mean, Japan was only about 35 miles across there. And so they told us that if we had any problem, engine go out or something, said go into Vladivostok, and said they'll take care of everything. Well, I said, no way I'm going to Vladivostok, Russia. I said, I'll go back on 3 inches, but I'm not going back on, not to go to Russia. Because we had 2 to go in there, and 2 didn't come back. Now, the people did, but they kept the planes.
Yeah.
And let the people go. But they tried to reciprocate and build another B-29, but they never could get it right or something. And that never did work out. But anyway, they told us that what they wanted us to do, they're going to load us down with bombs and load us down with gas. And because we're going to, that mission took 17 hours and some of it, pretty close to 18 hours there and back. And so if you take the amount of gas, and each gallon of gas weighs 8 pounds, and you multiply the gas times 8, it'll give you an idea.
How much fuel? Yeah.
About 73,000 pounds of fuel.
Then on bombs, you got 24 bombs that weigh 500 pounds each.
Another 12,000.
That on top of the gas. And we were supposed to go to up there to the end of Japan, upper end. So anyway, there was a colonel, full colonel, was taken off in front of me. And I was behind this colonel. I was a major at the time. And so we had 2 runways. Like, this is one runway, this is runway. Over here on this one, on one on the left, the colonel was here, and I was here, and a string of B-29s behind us. Over here, there's a string of B-29. But what happened, they said that once this here takes off, they wait 30 seconds, and the guy over here will see that take off, and he'll give him the green light, and he'd let this guy here wait 30 seconds, because if he gets up here and you take off, you get into prop wash. I mean, it's hard to control it. And with that good stuff, they didn't want anybody getting hurt. And so anyway, this guy here, he takes off, and he's just hanging like this, just like he's fighting to hold the level. And he got right at the end of the jungle. After he left the runway, it must have been maybe a mile or 2 miles of jungle, nothing but jungle, and then it drops, the cliff drops off, and it's 500 feet from the edge of that cliff to the water. 500 feet. And so this guy, he got there, he started to take off. He did exactly what they said. And when he was going over those trees. So when he got to the end of the tail here hit some of the trees, and it took him like that, and then he blew up, and 10 guys got killed. All of them got killed. And so I was next in behind him. And this guy over here, I looked over there, you could see the smoke from his tires I knew it was tires, but he was trying to stop it, and he pulled over the median in between the two runways, and he aborted. He just sat there till everybody got off, and then he had motor trouble. He saw he couldn't make it, and so he just pulled off in here, and he aborted. So anyway, I was next over here behind this colonel. I said, no way am I gonna do what they told us to do. So instead of 4 or 5 degrees of flaps, I dropped up to about 8 or 10 degrees of flap to give me more lift. And also inches of mercury, I was going from 20 up to about 30 or 35, sitting there, and the thing just, I mean, it was just like, it was wanting to fly. And the guy gave me the green light. Well, I wasn't going to take the green light and take off until I was satisfied. And so anyway, I got where, because I was all I could do to hold it. It was just, I mean, I was just shaking, and I could hold one at that time. And I was standing on the brakes, and so finally I let go, and it just hit me against the seat. And I went down the runway, and I held it to the last second that I could do it. And I hollered for hollered wheels up, and the co-pilot, he flipped the button, and the wheels rolled up under us. And when I got back, my mechanic told me, said, you know how much you missed that generator down at the end? I said, well, I intended to miss it about 5 or 10 feet. He said, that's exactly what you did. He said, I couldn't even see daylight between it.
Wow.
Between the plane and that thing. I thought, surely you're going to hit it. I said, I didn't intend to hit it. So anyway, when I got over past the jungle, I put the nose down, and I started going down towards the water. And I knew I could go like 100 feet a minute. It'd take me 5 minutes to hit the ocean. So I just to put it going down about 50 feet a minute, and held it there till I got about a little bit higher than that house over there, and leveled off, and I was just on top of the water just like that. And I held it until, it took me a long time to get it to build up to 220 miles an hour. But once I got it to 220, I could put a slight increase, and from there, all the way up a little bit past Iwo Jima, I was still climbing to get my altitude, and I finally got it. But we had that one in front of me. They're the ones that got killed, but that's the only ones that got killed. We had some that aborted and had to come back. We had 2 that had engine trouble, and they told them to drop the bombs in the ocean, not to try to land with a
Bomb load,
engine.
yeah.
No, so just drop the bombs in the ocean, bring it on in, which they did.
After you took off, didn't you call back and tell them what changes you had made?
I called her. After I got off and cleared, I called the tower, and the tower had communication. They could hit a switch and talk to all of it at one time. And so anyway, I told them what I did, and they did the same thing. The tower came right back and told them what to do and so forth, and so they didn't have any more trouble.
The